And a good Wednesday evening to everyone that is tuning in right now. We are here on a very special edition seminar session of Indigo Inspire Live, and we're so grateful for those that will be tuning in. And for those of you that will be watching the replay, this is definitely valuable information. We are continuing our seminar session with the one and only David Awakim, who is the junior financial analyst at Tristate Financial Services out of Washington at DC and Virginia area. And he is with us again tonight for part two of the healthcare financial planning seminar. If you missed part one, that is on our channel. We do not take our seminars down or our programming down. So please make sure if there's some things that you missed completely, this is your opportunity now to listen to series part one as we continue our conversation with David tonight for part two. So we have definitely some announcements coming on of what's happening here in our Philadelphia tri-state area and so much more, but we'll talk about that after towards the end of our show. But I don't want to prolong the introduction long. I want to bring on our special seminar presenter, the one and only David Awakim is with us. David.
Hey, Patrice, always a pleasure to be here and excited for the opportunity to help teach a little more, share more about finances, knowledge that, I believe everyone should really know down to
Mhm.
the heart, and then practice in their day-to-day life. So, hope everyone has their notebooks ready to take some notes.
Yes, and
Right?
we are definitely ready to go. And we'll also be posting you'll have a graphic as well as how people can get in contact with you. They can make their appointments with you, schedule a consultation with you, and continue even additional services with you. So we want to make sure we promote what you are doing. So let's go ahead and begin our presentation. So do you want me to bring the screen on?
Yeah, if you could.
All
Yeah,
right.
and I always appreciate. We always have the QR code up there in the top left, I think. I'm not sure if it's mirrored or not.
Mhm.
You can always scan that. You can scan the big QR code on the screen right here. If you have any questions at any point, throw them in the chat, throw them in that QR code. They'll get to me. We'll address them in the course of today's conversation. And if there's anything that's on your mind that you're worried about when it comes to finances, whether that is, retirement planning, planning for healthcare expenses, trying to reduce your tax liabilities today and in the future when you retire, or just improving your investments, making them work as hard for you as you worked for those dollars, we're happy to sit down with you, see what opportunities might be, and show you next steps and what's available for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so I'm gonna just turn the presentation over to you.
Appreciate it, Patrice.
Mhm.
So, today we're gonna kind of go through mostly healthcare topics, make sure that everyone's on the same page with those, kind of review a little bit what we went over then around distribution planning and retirement planning, and probably if we have time, end it on a little more talk about finances. So, just a quick reminder: Tri-State Financial Advisors were based out here in the Tyson's Corner area in Virginia. We're an office about 50 people strong today, helping folks with anything that comes with money, right? Anything with a dollar sign next to it, because the world is complicated and I believe no one should have to make those difficult decisions alone, especially when they can be small decisions with big, big consequences,
Mhm.
especially if those small decisions compound year over year over year over year, which turns into decade into decade into decade into decade.
Awesome.
And I got to know Patrice through a presentation over an Autism Speaks event a couple
Yes.
months back, if I remember. It was excellent conversation. And I want to bring that conversation on this platform, kind of highlight some of those main points when it
Mhm.
comes to healthcare considerations in particular. And these are broad based. Everyone has to have healthcare at some point.
Mhm.
First thing I want to make sure we're very clear on is what is Medicare? Now, everyone hears about it, it's always in the news cycles, always about funding cycles. And this is a kind of high level breakdown of how Medicare works and who is it really designed for. It's designed for people that are 65 and older, or those receiving supplemental social disability income. And we'll touch more on that in a later slide.
Okay.
The basic idea of Medicare is, hey, as a society, we believe that the elderly should have healthcare coverage. We should provide that for them. That shouldn't be a concern for them. Divided into several parts. The main parts are Part A, which covers hospitals. Part B covers medical insurance. So anytime you see a doctor, really. Part D covers prescription drugs. And there's Medigap available to fill any holes that might exist, such as physical therapy or specific drugs that might have a more intensive process that goes alongside it, intensive surgeries, those sort of things. And one option that exists called Medicare Advantage, also called Medicare Part C. This lumps in a couple of those other parts into a private package. So normal traditional Medicare parts A, B, and D are offered through the government, and you get to participate with pretty much any doctor that works with any level of Medicare. You don't require referrals to see specialists, and it works anywhere in the U.S. Whereas with a private plan, it will often include things like dental, vision, and hearing. The idea there is that it often comes at a little bit of a discount compared to the public version, but there's also limitations associated with it. So it limits the doctors to those that are in network. Typically, they'll require referrals or prior approval for seeing a specialist. And coverage, again, is limited to the geographic area typically where the plan is located. And additionally, for high income earners, there's additional IRMA charges associated with Medicare, and that's regardless if you're doing traditional or Medicare Advantage. For folks that are making 300,000 plus in retirement, there might see additional charges, additional tax bills on those payments. That's what Medicare is. It's for the elderly and people who might be on specific kinds of disability income, and it provides health insurance.
David, I do have a question.
Any
So
questions? Make sure
when
you
it comes to, particularly, let's talk about going into Medicare Part C. Now, how are people signing up for Medicare? As you generally said, it's usually for people that are 65 up, but there are also instances where people under that will be in need of Medicare. And particularly when you get to the Medicare Part C, the private bundles, how is that? Who is classified able to get that type of coverage?
Yeah, so again, if you're eligible for Medicare, you can do, traditional or Medicare Advantage. That's just a choice that you have when you're eligible.
Mhm.
And I can jump over to my slide on what SSDI is about. So anyone in the US, any permanent resident over 65 is automatically eligible. Additionally, 65 or older.
Mhm.
So if you just turned 65, congratulations. This is now available to you. And I want to mention it's often much cheaper than the private sector options available, the overall marketplace. That's
Mhm.
what it's called, if you're not getting it through your employer. But it's also available for folks that are on something called Social Security Disability Income.
Mhm.
We'll talk about SSI in a second. Let's just focus on this kind of right section.
Mhm.
What this is, it's a benefit to people that have been contributing to Social Security, but they cannot work because of a medical condition that's expected to last at least 1 year or is terminal. And this amount depends on how long you've worked, how much you've earned over that time period. It
Mhm.
depends on how much you've put into the Social Security bucket, so to say. And again, there's specific requirements about tenure, how much you've contributed, and that you've paid taxes appropriately on your contributions. And you can always apply online, or you can find a local office in your area for Social Security
Mhm.
to see if you're eligible for SSDI, Social Security Disability Income.
Mhm.
Anyone who is eligible for that is who is participating in that. So eligible and is receiving it is also eligible for Medicare.
Got it.
And I want to highlight the difference between Medicare and Medicaid because they're often confused and they're very different things that work in different manners. Big picture, Medicare is for people that are 65 years old. We're caring for our elderly. Whereas Medicaid is a separate program where we're aiding people who are low income or in difficult circumstances in their lives. People who might have some disabilities like total blindness or maybe lost a limb in the course of service, they'll be eligible for Medicaid. And they work in slightly different ways. Medicare is federally administered, whereas Medicaid is a combination of state and federal.
Okay.
What that means is that Medicare is held through a trust. It's not in the overall federal budget, right? So money that's going into Medicare, like the IRMA tax or any other Medicare tagged taxes, are going straight into a trust for Medicare, money in, money out, one purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, money for Medicaid comes out of the overall federal budget as well as state budgets, which are decided each and every single year, and they're more variable.
Okay.
So again, Medicare caring for the elderly,
Mhm.
Medicaid aiding those less fortunate.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to give an example of something I know when well, this obviously several years ago, when I had our second daughter, she was born a micro preemie. And so she was 23 weeks in gestation when she was born. Um, she was in the NICU for quite a while, obviously, and then came home, needed occupational therapy and speech therapy. Happy and blessed to say that she is, other than just still being a little small in size, she is doing well, graduated from college. And I do remember that when she was doing the hospital and doing our conversations with social services about just setting up the home for a baby of that, that size. One of the benefits was Social Security, or I wasn't sure if it was Social Security time because when you're in a place where
You're in the moment.
critical, um, but it was a great benefit because we were able to use those funds for any additional health care needs that she had until she didn't need them any longer. And so just the input of even in situations like that, depending on what is available, that is also a benefit for people who are in critical situations like that. Also,
I always want to emphasize, and we emphasized this last time as well, is that there's a lot of resources available out there.
hmm
If we were to print all the programs that are just federal and state governments alone, it would be pages and pages and pages, maybe even longer than the Bible. I don't know.
yeah,
There's a lot of help available out there.
hmm
You just gotta learn the right places to go and the right people to talk to.
hmm
And it always
and,
starts
and
with
and
what
hence it's nice talking to you, so be able to get some guidance in that situation.
yeah, and again, I really appreciate you sharing that. I'm very glad to hear that she's doing excellent today.
Thank you, thank you. Okay.
And I actually have a similar story from a client, or not quite similar, but it was a client of mine that he has a long-term health condition, a very expensive one, where if he was uninsured, it would cost about 100K each and every single year
hmm
to avoid debilitating pain in his daily life.
hmm
And he was racking his brain thinking, how am I going to retire while needing an extra, 8K each month
Yeah.
just to pay for my healthcare expenses? And what we ended up doing for him is digging through all the provisions for Medicare that'll be available to him when he goes to retire after 65.
hmm
When he's no longer working, no longer getting his employer's health insurance,
hmm
but still needs to fill his need of that healthcare condition. We looked through and we identified Medigap Plan G. And what that does is that supplemental coverage, Medigap is for any supplemental needs that you may have, such as chronic conditions,
Hmm.
covers the majority of the associated expenses. There'll be a small copay associated with it. I don't remember the exact number, but it was in the tens of dollars instead of the thousands of dollars.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was something that he wasn't aware about, and he was planning around it. And kudos to him, was doing a very good job of meeting that required income target.
hmm
But now that he doesn't need that, we have a new problem of how do I spend an extra 100K on retirement? What do I do with it? great problem to have.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
we look through all the particulars necessary to make sure that we are able actually to turn that to a reality. Because one big problem when it comes to chronic conditions, then we all know heck. One big problem when it comes to chronic conditions is that often private companies will not write you an insurance policy because at the end of the day they're trying to turn a profit, and if it's unprofitable to insure you, they're just not going to do it if they're able to avoid it.
Yeah, yeah.
But one thing that Medicare does is that within the first 6 months of your start, they allow you to enroll in any of these several plans without any underwriting. So one time window available only within the first 6 months. You're able to get in within that window. You can stay in for as long as you can. So as long as you don't get out, you're in, you get that coverage, and you're able to, avoid some of those long-term expenses associated with chronic conditions. Then you get the problem of having more money than you thought you would in retirement.
Well, that's an excellent benefit because most people, okay, I'll put it this way. I had never heard
Yeah.
of Medigap, and I guess because I've
Yeah.
never acquired that information, but I'm so glad that this is out here for people to know that they're in that type of situation. Especially you said like debilitating uh, health challenges and just the overall high cost of medication coverages and things of that nature. And I actually, right now in my head, I'm already thinking about a friend of mine who lives in Florida, who's caring for her mom, and I think just the medication that she needs for a chronic blood condition, that medication, I believe, is like that injection is like about. I'm trying to think if it was like $3,000 a month just for the injection. And I definitely want to connect her with you to talk to her about this Medigap Plan G. That would, I think, be very helpful for her.
Yeah, please do. Always love to see how we can help.
Okay.
Because again, there's a lot of resources available out there, and sometimes $3,000 a month is more than some people pay in rent.
Yeah.
So
Does
those
she-
savings it's the life changing kind of savings.
yes, very much so. Because her mother has to live with her because obviously just her own health challenges and everything else. She has to be at home now with her daughter. So yeah, this is going to be a great blessing for her. So no, thanks for bringing this slide up for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, glad we were able to help one person, and hopefully everyone that's listening, think of anyone that you know that might benefit from this.
Mm-hmm.
The more information gets out, the better our society is, because the digital age with so much information being thrown everywhere, there's a lot that exists. It's often hard to dig through the noise and
Mm-hmm.
learn what's identifiable, what's useful. And sometimes word of mouth and just, hey, I heard about this, go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's often one of the most powerful ways to get the message across and spread it around.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Okay.
And while we're here, any more questions about Medicare or Medicaid?
No,
Please
now,
chat
yeah.
here.
Yeah, I'm good. I see. I see. I can't pronounce the first name with ending in 312. She said, "I wish I had that problem." I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it.
Right. Yeah, too much money is a great problem to have. I'm looking forward to it myself.
Yeah, especially in retirement years. So yeah, for sure.
Right. Now I want to flip over to the other side of the healthcare trust,
Mhm.
which is Social Security. This is also a separate trust, so it's not part of the overall federal budget. Instead, money that's taxed for Social Security goes straight to the Social Security bucket, and money spent on Social Security comes straight from that bucket. Money in, money out. And how Social Security works is that based on how much you contributed in the years that you were working, it's a guaranteed pension provided by the federal government. As long as the government is around, you're going to get those checks. And I don't think the US government is going anywhere anytime soon.
Mhm.
I believe right now they max out at about 4,300 a month. And the way that those work is that you can decide to start taking Social Security at age 62. And the longer you wait, the more of a payment you're going to get. So if you wait until, I believe right now the maximum is 70. Let me just double check that number for you guys really quickly. Security, maximum age. And the internet is a great resource on this stuff.
Mhm.
Always good to consult. I would always recommend trusting it without a second pair of eyes.
Okay.
But it ranges from 62 to 70. The longer you delay it, the more income you get. And sometimes we have folks make the decision of, hey, if I turn it here, I'll get this much more. How could I make more money just investing that money? I don't really need it to live. Or hey, if I turn it on too soon while I'm still working, maybe I'll have to pay some extra taxes on that money. That's also can be up to, one or two out of every $3. So we should hold off and just take a bigger payment later. And for most folks on the call today, full retirement age, where they get 100% of this amount is 67. It's
Okay.
definitely
So
case.
here, I have a question for you. Okay,
Go ahead,
so
Patrice.
she says, when should you do it, or is it case basis, and why should you sit down with financial advisor? That's a very good question.
Yeah, and like, it's very much case by case because it depends on a lot of different variables. Things like how much fixed income do you have in retirement at your various ages? Right? Do you have a pension that turns on when you're 65 and you don't have any way to fill the gap between 62 and 65? And so you need to use social for that. Or when do you plan on retirement, right? It's based on your goals. Do you want to retire early? Do you want to retire later? We help folks, see their effects on their net worth, see the different scenarios play out, so they can make that informed decision moving forward. We focus on their income gap, right? How much do you actually need to fill in retirement? Is this going to be extra fun money, or is this money that's required for us to live how we want in retirement? And of course, there's other things to look at, like taxes. If we're working when we're 62, 63, just because we like our job, are we going to pay excessively in taxes if we take social that early? We'll also do the math on the investment environment available, right? If Social Security is growing, 3% each year for your payment, but maybe the market is doing very well and you can get 6, 7, 8% pretty steadily. Maybe it's better to take the early smaller payments, invest those in the stock market or elsewhere, and then get better growth than you would just taking the money later on. There's a lot of things to look at, a lot of moving parts. So it helps have a fully comprehensive financial plan and have a second pair of eyes help analyze that, show you your options, show you potential consequences, so you can always make the most informed decision going forward. Does that clarify your question,
Yeah,
Maher?
I think Mahal, is that and answering your question? I hope it does. And David will also be putting up his slide a little bit later if you stay for the presentation, how to contact him. She says yes, and how to
Perfect.
contact him for any additional questions you may have. Thank you so much for your questions. We appreciate it. And along, if you stay here, any more questions, please feel free to ask them. That's why you help.
Always happy to answer everyone. So it's my pleasure.
So, Dave, I have a
Yeah.
question. So, what
Yeah.
if you took it out too early with Social Security and you realize, oh, wait a minute, I took it out too early. Can you stop it?
I
And
believe that Social Security, once you turn it on, you cannot turn it off.
okay,
Yeah, so it's again, it's a small decision and with big consequences. And I just double checked myself here. It looks like you can turn it off within the first 12 months if you realize, oh, I should not be doing that. However, you have to pay back every dollar they gave you during those 12 months.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I
We're
have
glad you asked that. I learned something new today.
yeah. So here's a question too. So, all right, so a spouse gets Social Security, they got it, but the other spouse is still working. But when that spouse when that spouse retires, their income was much more than the other spouse, and Does that
Then you can switch
change?
to the half spousal. Yes.
Okay, so
So
it
for
will.
spouses, there's a special rule available
Mhm,
where you're able to take, instead of your designated payments from Social Security, you're
mhm.
able to receive one half of your spouse's payment.
Okay, okay.
So let's say one spouse is older but
Mhm,
lower income earner,
mhm,
they're able to turn on social early,
mhm.
benefit from those payments. Then once their spouse retires, they can start taking one half of their spouse's payments instead.
Got you. Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
there's an option available. And often in that case, it's better for the lower income older spouse to just turn it on as soon as possible, enjoy those checks for as long as possible, then switch once the
Mhm.
other one decides to start taking their payments.
Okay, okay.
And on the other side of social, we have something called SSI. This is supplemental security income. Again, this is not a trust. This is part of the general federal budget that gets reallocated each and every single year. And this is a needs-based program. So what that means is that for people that are lower income, it provides them with some guaranteed money. So they're able to, get their feet off the ground and give them a launching pad.
Mhm.
It's based on limited assets and limited income. There's no work requirement, and it also makes you eligible for Medicaid when it comes to health insurance. If you're on a needs-based program like Social Supplemental Security Income, excuse me. And that does it for the various medical assets and excuse me, income programs that I had designed for us today to go over.
Okay.
And I want to end it here on a little factoid that I think is incredible. In the US, with 300 million people, give or take, 1 in 4 have some kind of disability. So that's tens upon tens upon tens of millions of people in America. Meanwhile, only 11 million of them are receiving some sort of benefits for their conditions.
Hmm.
And at times that comes down to that lack of awareness, lack of diagnosis, and lack of education. So definitely double check with, if you think that this might be relevant to you, double check with the local Social Security office. Double check with a local, your local doctor when you go for your annual visit. So ask a quick question like, hey, could this qualify me for this program?
Mhm.
They see a lot of people who might be in a similar boat. They might be able to give you an answer or guide you to someone that might have that answer for you. I also want to take a moment here, see if anyone has any questions that they want to ask or anything I can
I
clarify
think
about the earlier
you
material.
actually answered the question right, behind after the reading, which is why people don't know that this is available, and that lack of information is just letting you know that wow, so many people can be helped. But I'm so glad that we have a program like this tonight to open the eyes of even if it's one, two, 10 or more people to say, hey, this is available. And I actually want to make sure that anybody that may want to screenshot this, take a pause, look at this, please scan this QR code and be in contact with David, who will definitely give you some great guidance on this, on how to access the benefits that are available to you, particularly if you're in a situation where your finances are not that great and you're just basically living day to day or week to week. This is going to be a blessing and a help for you as far as this is concerned.
Right? The basic equation for wealth never changes. It's
Yeah.
always increase income, decrease expenses, don't make bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this helps because just having any extra support gives you so much clarity of mind
Mm-hmm.
that you're able to achieve those things because it simple ain't easy. That's the reality of life. And the more support we can have, the easier it is to do simple things that we know will pay off throughout our life and for the rest of our family's life as well.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Knowing that for us, like the Indigo Inspire Foundation is support of Autism Speaks, and those that are getting having their children assessed, and they didn't know that this is possibility depending on where they are on the spectrum, and even more profound autism, and more disability generally in that direction. This is a financial game changer for them for supplying what they need for caring for their child. And so this is great. This is truly, truly, truly great.
Again, if you have an inkling of that might be applicable to you, go check with someone, go ask. It never hurts to ask. You can only leave more informed.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure, for sure.
And that wraps up our segment on the healthcare side of things. I want to go more general financial planning.
Let's
And
go.
if you watch the first webinar, it's going to be very familiar for you.
Hmm.
It's our favorite. It's the three bucket approach.
Yes.
And this kind of breaks down different ways to think about your money. We firmly believe that every dollar should have a purpose behind it. And we can outline those into three different buckets to be able to protect us from various risks that exist out there in life and the marketplace as a whole. The first and most important bucket, your liquidity bucket. Make sure you have an emergency fund in place so that when life throws us surprises, we're not scrambling and breaking apart this whole beautiful apparatus we're building that can provide us the comfortable lifestyle we seek. And savings add up. If you're able to even put away just $10 each week towards that emergency fund, and avoid spending it when you can't, but know that life will happen and you will know when to spend it. If the car breaks down, emergency fund. Sudden medical expenses, kid breaks an arm, emergency fund. Use it for what it's for. The other side of things is our income. During your working years, this is just your wages. During retirement, this is what we like to call fixed income. And there's a good acronym for this I like to use, SPAR. So the most common forms of fixed income are things like Social Security, pensions, annuities, which are kind of a private pension, you can think of it,
Hmm.
and real estate income.
Okay, I love that.
People like to use dividend income from their investments as well.
Hmm.
The idea of this bucket is to give us the lifestyle that we want. It's our day-to-day expenses, our predictable budget. And then let me just put on here, EF for emergency fund. Then with all of our extra dollars that we don't really know what to do with, we can put them towards targeted growth. This is what we like to call the goal achievement bucket. So when you're working, this is things like your 401k plan. This is things like a brokerage account. This is things like investing in a personal or small business.
Hmm.
The idea here is that we're doing a long-term investment to help our money grow and give us more opportunities later on down the line. If you're 5 years away from buying a house, if you're looking to buy a yacht when you retire and you want to set aside extra funds for that, if you're looking to have some travel money or maybe leave something behind in a legacy, this is money dedicated to those purposes. When you're working, this is things like your 401k plan. When you retire, this is really any extra dollar that's not allocated to your income. And working with a financial advisor, you can look at specific strategies and the best ways to implement those various buckets. What kind of distribution strategy should we use in retirement to make our income most efficiently? What makes most sense for us? What sort of targeted growth strategy is comfortable for us? How much risk do we want to take on? What's available in the marketplace? We're going to go over a little bit of the investment discussion today, just a preview, because again, there's so much to go over. I could spend 2 days just talking about it.
No, we're going to we're going into this. We're going to prepare for number 3. So it's fine. We're not going to just give them everything. We're not going to give them the whole sandwich. It's too much to digest.
And I look forward to it.
Mhm.
I think for this one, I want to highlight especially because I didn't get a chance to do that last time, how this protects against all five of the major risks that we see when it comes to retirement planning. The first one is inflation risk. Patrice, you've been to the grocery store recently, right?
Yes.
Been to the gas pump?
Mm-hmm.
Seen the housing market?
Mm-hmm.
I know, heart attack after heart attack. What we typically find in the investment world is that over the long term, 5, 10, 20 plus years, the only asset class, the only type of investment that's been able to outperform and outpace inflation has been equities. What are equities?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's just a fancy word for ownership. So whether that's owning stocks in the company, whether that's owning an ETF, exchange traded fund,
Mm-hmm.
which is a giant bag of various different stocks, whether that's owning something like a business.
Mm-hmm.
That allows your money to grow faster than the crazy rate that inflation goes at, because at the end of the day, businesses are what take in money, and their growth as to take in more money will outpace tends to outpace inflation just from a theory, and for the last, I believe, 150 years. That's how far the
Mm-hmm.
data goes.
Mm-hmm.
But of
So,
course,
but
go ahead,
would you
Patrice.
think,
Yes.
would you think that someone who wants to start their own business is this still the right climate to do such? And I'm sure it depends on what that business is.
Right. And I think it depends on the person's circumstances, right? I would say, businesses require a runway. The
Mm-hmm.
more runway, the better. Obviously, there's some risk, but I would definitely have at least 6 to 12 months living expenses set aside for taking that jump.
Okay.
It's because you don't want to have a great business that you're not able to get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And again, to answer your first question, is it the right time to start a business? I don't think that there's a thing called the right time. It's going to be a risk,
Yeah.
and it's about chasing the opportunity rather than fearing what you might lose. And I'm on the more, scaredy cat side myself. I'm of philosophy that you shouldn't put anything into it that you wouldn't be willing to lose.
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, most businesses in America do not make it past the first 5 years.
yeah.
But that's a personal conversation to have with yourself, your family, and the people that support you.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be people that support you on that journey.
Yeah.
Because we all realize how magnificent it can be when it works out,
Mm-hmm.
but that it's never an easy road.
Okay. And there's a balance there, so definitely for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, it's a lot about what you're willing to see and what kind of life you want to live for yourself. I think having that clarity and having that vision, not only for the business, but for your personal life, are very important things that let you know when is it the right time to do it, and also keep it going when the going gets rough.
Mm,
Because again, that will happen.
yes. Yeah.
And does that address your question properly?
It does. It does. It does. It does.
Perfect. And the next risk I want to touch on is this thing called market risk. Markets go up and down. It's just the name of the game. It's what happens in life. It's what happens in the marketplace as a whole. And I can highlight here a couple of years in particular that were pretty rough on the marketplace. We'll get back to this graphic later on.
Okay.
During 1998, excuse me, we had the dot-com bubble. And during 2008, we had the housing crash.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to focus on the red line. The red line is something called the S&P 500. All that stands for is the 500 biggest companies in the US. So think, your Walmarts, Netflix, Facebook, General Motors, nationwide companies that if you saw the logo or you saw the name, you'd be like, oh, I know that one. I use blank and blank from it. And what you can see here is that even though they go up, they can take on massive losses very rapidly, right? If you were invested in the S&P 500 back in 1999, you bought it at the top, within a couple of years, you would have lost a significant percentage of your money, 40% or so. Same thing with the housing crash. Big drops are possible. And what's really, really, really important is to be invested in a risk tolerance that you're okay with. What does risk tolerance mean? Great question. I'm glad you asked.
Mhm.
It's the idea that we want a part of our money to be in a conservative part, where it's steady rates of return, and then a part to be more aggressively invested, seeking those higher rates of return, more for the long term. When you combine those two, we actually find that you get better long-term returns because you're taking on fewer losses, so you have less to recover from. And when people say, I'm a 10 out of 10 investor, what that means is they want 100% of their investments in aggressive side, 0 in conservative. 8 out of 10, 80% aggressive, 20% conservative. 6 out of 10, aggressive, conservative, and so on. And through this strategy, we're able to make sure that you're able to afford to stay invested through whatever surprises life might throw our way. Because the market tends to recover at the end of the day. So if you're a 6 out of 10 investor, you have 60K, you have 100K to play with total, 60K in the stock market, and market takes a big dump. Because you have your income covered, whether that's through wages, whether that's through fixed income sources in your retirement, you're able to wait out the ride and achieve those higher peaks later on. I'm going to jump to a different graphic here to showcase that here. We're going to focus on the gray line in this one. This is that same S&P 500, the red line from the previous slide. Patrice, do you have a question here?
No, I was acknowledging that you're changing the slide. Yes.
Got it. And you can see here, what it's showing is someone that had about 60K back in 1997. By the time of the dot-com bubble, that had grown to, if I'm reading this right here, about 170K, maybe closer to 200. Takes that big drop. If they didn't have that income bucket and that emergency fund, and they'd be forced to sell out down here to meet their living expenses. And someone that's putting all their money in the stock market, not accounting for the long time that it takes to get consistent returns from the market. Right? Markets average good returns. They don't always produce good returns tomorrow. You need time on your side when it comes to investing. Someone that sells here actually realize a loss.
Mhm.
But someone else is able to wait out this full decade of volatility would be a very, very, very happy camper today.
Mm.
Has that 60K back in 1997 would be close to about 900K today. Investing takes time, and a 3-bucket strategy enables us to wait that time while not sacrificing our lifestyle.
Ooh, patience is definitely going to be the factor here for sure.
Oh yeah, and not looking at it. Highly recommend. Don't look at it. Just let it ride the waves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And next time we'll have a graphic ready for us, which shows the markets all the way back from about 1900s. You'll see the ups and the downs. You'll see how they're dwarfed the longer and longer and longer you go on. And this is where a lot of generational wealth gets built. Because if your grandparents invested back in the 1920s, even a small investment, that's worth a pretty penny and a half in today's dollars.
Would you like to do next Thursday, this same time, roughly?
So that's the market risk we talked about, which is a chance that the market could suddenly take a dump. COVID happens, housing crash happens, dot-com bubble pops. Another risk that's available this
And then I'll
liquidity
also
risk.
send you that email with my first picture website.
Imagine someone who is a millionaire. They have $1 million to their name and they want to retire. However, their $1 million is all the value of their home.
Mm,
They don't have any other assets, but they're a millionaire, right? They should be able to retire, easy peasy.
no, absolutely not.
Exactly, right? They don't have liquid money. They can't access their money
Hmm.
in a steady, consistent way. You could be the richest man on earth, but if you can't actually touch your money because it's locked up in an investment like real estate or a long-term investment, you're sort of out of luck.
Yeah.
So liquidity is very important. Here's why we make sure that we take care of the liquidity bucket for the emergencies and the income bucket. The reason why we separate those two is that you want the income bucket to be steady and consistent. You don't want to take a giant bat and crack at it when life takes a surprise at you.
Hmm.
You want to be able to do its own thing, be kind of sheltered from the ups and downs of the world. Next risk, excuse me. It's the name kind of sells itself. Emergency risk. Life has an emergency. We don't want to be forced to, cash out our 401k plan because we invested too much into it and didn't save aside a piggy bank for when the rainy day comes.
Hmm.
That's what the liquidity bucket solves yet again.
Yes.
Last major problem here, longevity risk. Say that, hey, I'm gonna live my life crazy, gonna do extreme sports all the time, gonna go parachuting every day. I'm not making it a day past 70. And you're not planning around that when it comes to your income, your liquidity. Lo and behold, you're very fit, you're very happy, and things keep going well for you. Make it to 80, 85, and suddenly there's some new Medicare healthcare expenses, excuse me, they hadn't planned around. That's a longevity risk. You lived longer than you thought you would, and the money that you had prepared isn't going to last you as long as you actually need it for. That's where that targeted growth comes in. That's our goal achievement bucket. And it also enables us to deal with the new expenses that life throws your way.
Hmm.
You need long-term care facilities. This money is set aside for that. You live to be 100 and you will celebrate with a giant cruise. This money is set aside for that. Hey, our income no longer fulfills our living expenses. We're living a little bit more extravagantly now in retirement. This bucket, you can take a portion out of it, throw it into here, get more income in retirement. With a smart mix of all three, you're able to prepare yourself and have a smart place to pull money from, no matter what problem comes your way.
Yeah.
Because the one certainty is life is that the future is uncertain. I want to be best prepared for that uncertainty. That's my job.
Yeah.
To get you prepared for the truth of uncertainty in life.
So let's touch the liquidity bucket for now. So as you're placing your savings, be it $10 a week or whatever you can afford, so that it accumulates to at least 6 to 12 months or years of expenses. What is the best account to place that emergency fund so that there's money being made on that
On
particular
your money.
aspect of
Yeah.
saving?
And I'm going to wipe away the drawings here just to give myself a little bit more space.
Mhm.
The core idea with the liquidity bucket, because I don't want to lose the forest for the trees. Yes, we want to optimize each dollar, but the core idea here is that it's emergency money that's not going to take a massive loss. It's safe money. So there's a couple options for you. You can keep it in cash under the mattress. Honestly, not a bad bet. And you can put it in something called a money market account. Those are usually the best returning yields.
Mhm.
What a money market account is, it invests into short-term loans to major corporations. Let's say that Coca-Cola didn't sell as much as I thought this would, and needs a little bit extra money for the next 30 days to pay off rent. Some other company would give it a short-term 30-day loan, and then they, sell more the next month, pay back that loan. That's what money market accounts invest in. They
Mm-hmm.
give out those short-term 30 to 90-day loans.
Mm-hmm.
The way you access a money market account is any kind of brokerage service. So companies like Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, all of those let you do is just invest. And money market funds or money market mutual funds are one thing you're able to invest in. These are safe, pretty steady, and in recent years they've been generating about 3 to 4% each year, but that is based off of interest rates,
Mm-hmm.
as most things are. Another option is CDs. Throw your money at a bank, they lock it up for 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long their term is. You get it back plus a percentage at the end of that. Another option, regular checking and savings accounts. Things like high yield savings accounts, HY, SAs, also exist
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people aren't aware of. All that is that it has some restrictions on liquidity. A common condition is that you can only pull money from it 6 times in a month. Doesn't matter if it's $1 or $1 million, you're allowed 6 withdrawals per month. And they usually return better interest rates, pretty close to those money markets, about 3 to 4% in today's environment.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it depends on a person's circumstances, what they want, and what they're looking for. But typically, money markets and high yield savings accounts are a good place to park that emergency cash.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because the whole idea, like you said, the image of taking the cash and putting it under your mattress, wouldn't recommend that. But have your money make money for you, so that even it turns around to have even more into your liquidity account and
For
for
everything else.
yes,
Yeah,
correct.
and just to give a quick example here, if you had $10,000 saved aside in a regular checking or savings account, I what they give like a 0.1% interest nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
something close to that. That would be an extra. Let me use my calculator here. It's been a long day for me.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an extra $10 each month, or sorry, each year. They can deposit or reinvest back. But with something that's giving you 3 to 4%, like a high yield savings account or a money market account,
Mm-hmm.
that's $300. $300 that you get just for parking your money in a better parking lot. Pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just, that difference, $290 extra
Yeah.
for shopping around, seeing what's available, to the place that gives you the best interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to take an aside here, something to mention that a lot of people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
A lot of people are shopping around for their insurance coverage because oftentimes that's very competitive. And a lot of companies are willing to give you a better rate or more coverage for the same rate on things like your home insurance, your auto insurance. They can also help around with that. That's a new service we've added to our arsenal recently.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, things like, call up your utilities company or your gym membership. Be like, I'm thinking of looking at other options. They usually have whole teams set aside to give you
Mm-hmm.
discounts to keep you on as a client.
Okay. Yeah.
Just little tidbits you can learn about. Because again, the equation for wealth is better income, lower expenses, don't make life-ruining decisions. Those
For,
three simple things.
for sure. For sure. For sure.
Mhm. And Patrice, I see that we're running up on 8 o'clock here.
Okay.
I can give a little overview on, the income bucket and the targeted growth, what's available out there, or we can kind of save that for next time, because I know that.
Yeah. Let's save that for part for at the continuation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be excellent.
Yeah.
So just a little teaser, we're going to go over what strategies are available for people close to retirement, what's been doing good in today's environment.
Mhm.
Make sure you're aware of what are realistic numbers to aim for. And for targeted growth, we'll talk about some options available out there as well, and really emphasize the long-term nature of them and how their goal achievement. They're your fun money. They're how you reach for your dreams, reach for your stars. Whether that's the new business you're planning to start, that yacht you want to buy in retirement, or a legacy you want to leave behind for any heirs or charities. And if you have any questions at all, always feel free to reach out to me. Again, David Awakim over at Tristate Financial Advisors. You have my email address down here. You have my direct line down here. You can call or text me anytime. And you can also use this QR code to submit any questions you might have, and we'll get back to you. Always happy to sit down one-on-one for 20 minutes on Teams. Any questions they may have, completely complimentary introductory meeting.
Well, David, thank you so much. This has definitely been a great refresher, tying in part one now into part two. And we're going to take a deeper dive with David's schedule permitting. We'll go into part three in July. And we want to really keep up on making sure that you're making the right financial decisions, not just for your healthcare planning, but also for your retirement planning, and know exactly what's the best way to invest. We're going to go deeper and deeper. So make sure every time you'll learn something, and obviously repetition, as I always say, deepens the impression. So David, thank you so much for being with us again this month, and for the information, as well as we're going to continue our conversation with him in July. We'll let you know what date that is based off of David's schedule. And in the meantime, please make sure you follow us here on Indigo Inspire Live. And you'll see that on our YouTube channel, as well as our other social media platforms when the series is coming up, as well as what we are doing for Autism Speaks. We have an event coming up here in July 25th in the city of Brotherly Love. And we are celebrating the nation's 250th anniversary. And so we want to make sure that our autism and neurodivergent community is also celebrated and included in all the festivities that's happening. So I'm definitely excited to do it in the city of Brotherly Love, where the Declaration of Independence, we've got it locked down here in Philly. So we're really excited. So many things are going on here in the city, and we can't wait to have you guys and host you guys here on July 25th. In the meantime, David, thank you so much for being here. And to everyone else, thank you for tuning in. For those of you, once again, as you watch the replay of this one and you said, hey, I missed the information, just go back to part one, and you'll be all caught up and prepared for the next installment of our healthcare financial planning series here with David Awakim from Tristate Financial Advisors. So for everyone here tonight, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next month. Take care and have a great
Thanks, Connor. It's Will Connor. How are you doing?
Always a pleasure, Patrice.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to the next one.
Thank you. All right, everybody, going to end this. So have a great night, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.